When I first moved out to Birch Hollow, I thought I'd finally found peace. After 22 years in the Army, all I wanted was quiet. No alarms, no chain of command, no neighbors measuring your worth by the color of your curtains. Just a small farmhouse, a creaky porch, and that old barn leaning toward the west, like it had been tired for decades, but still standing proud. The first week there, I remember just sitting on that porch, listening to wind move through the trees and thinking, yeah, this is where I'll breathe again. Then came her. Margaret Wilcox tan-suit pearls clipboard like it was a weapon. She walked up my gravel drive with that kind of smile that makes you want to check if your zipper's down because you know it isn't genuine. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said. "I'm the HOA president." Those words should have been my warning flare. I told her my name's Luke Bennett, retired engineer just trying to fix up the place. Her eyes slid past me to the barn. "Do you plan to keep that structure?" she asked. I blinked. "The barn?" "Yeah, ma'am, that's the plan." Her smile twitched. "It doesn't quite fit our community aesthetic." I laughed and said, "Well, neither do I, so I guess we're even." That didn't land well. Within a month, I had 4 violation letters taped to my mailbox. Grass too tall, though I'd mowed 2 days before. Faded fence paint, apparently not HOA beige enough. Unregistered tool storage. That one was for my wheelbarrow. And finally, non-compliant barn structure. That last one made my jaw lock. The barn had been standing 60 years before the HOA even existed. It was history, not a violation. But Margaret had decided I was her new hobby. I wasn't looking for trouble, not after everything I'd seen overseas. I'd had my share of explosions and power plays. I just wanted to sand wood, plant tomatoes, maybe fix the roof before winter. But every time I stepped outside, she'd appear like she had a sixth sense for peace and wanted to snuff it out. One afternoon, I caught her taking pictures of my property line, muttering something about fire hazards. So I called the fire department myself. The chief came out, checked everything, said it was cleaner than most barns he'd seen. That should have ended it. Instead, it just fueled her. By late October, the wind started changing. Birch Hollow is surrounded by maple trees, and when those leaves drop, they pile up quick. I'd bagged mine, turned what I could into compost. Margaret, though, she let hers gather along the fence that separated her yard from my barn. Then one afternoon, I looked up from the porch and saw her dragging them into a heap, striking a match like she was lighting a candle. I remember shouting, "Hey, that's too close." She didn't even look over. "Perfectly legal," she said, flicking the lighter again. HOA allows seasonal leaf burns under 5 feet. I looked at the fire, already taller than my waist, and felt that old military instinct click on. I grabbed the hose, sprayed down the fence, the barn base, the grass, anything that might catch. When I called the fire department that night, I expected support. Instead, 2 days later, I got another HOA notice, provocative behavior toward a fellow resident, for using a hose. That was the moment I realized I wasn't living next to a neighbor, I was living next to a crusade. I started documenting everything. Photos, dates, video from a small security cam I installed above the barn. The wind grew stronger that week, dry as bone. Folks around here called it red flag weather. And sure enough, one evening I saw her again piling up leaves in the same cursed corner. The sky was orange, the kind of color that means something bad's coming. I didn't even grab a jacket. I hit record on my phone and called 911 as she bent down with that same lighter. "This is Luke Bennett," I said. "My neighbor's burning again, yes, during a red flag warning. They told me to stay clear, but I couldn't. I was already soaking the fence, the barn, the grass. Then the wind turned hard east and the flames twisted like they were alive. For a moment, I thought it was heading straight for me, but no one ember floated over the fence, slow and deliberate, landing right on her porch. It hit a bale of decorative straw she'd set up for Halloween. Poof. Gone. Fire shot up the railing, then the siding. She spun around just as it caught. The look on her face, pure disbelief, like the universe had betrayed her. She started hitting the flames with a pillow, screaming for help. Neighbors ran out, phones up, calling 911. Sirens came quick this time, 2 engines pulling in. I stood there with the hose still in hand, the camera recording everything. When the fire was finally out, her porch was black, her roof scorched. She turned, eyes wild, and screamed, "He did this. He set me up." People gasped. I didn't say a word. Just played the video, her lighting the pile, the wind carrying it, her porch catching first. The fire chief took one look and said, "You're lucky that old barn didn't go up too." I told him, "Not luck, just preparation." Next morning, she showed up in a neck brace, flanked by 2 board members, like a villain in a courtroom drama. "You'll be fined," she said, "for creating unsafe conditions." I actually laughed. "You lit the fire, Margaret." She waved a folder like it was holy scripture. "We have reports of you using wind-inducing equipment." "A fan?" I asked. "To control the wind?" She nodded, dead serious. "That's insane. That's a violation." She shot back. I handed her a folder of my own county fire code, weather reports, time-stamped footage. "Yours was within 5 feet of a combustible structure," I said. "That's reckless endangerment." She stormed off, but I knew she wasn't done. People like her never quit when they're wrong, they double down. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, she lit another pile. This time, I didn't run. I walked out calmly with a fire extinguisher on my shoulder and the fire marshal himself on the phone. He'd told me to call him if it happens again. It happened again. The flame caught fast, the wind howled, and within minutes her roof was burning for real. Ortega the marshal arrived before it even peaked. She tried to accuse me again, and he just held up a hand. "Ma'am, we've got footage of you lighting open flame 3 feet from a structure during red flag conditions." That was it. Her knees gave out. They took her away that night, not in cuffs yet, but defeated in every way that mattered. A week later, the HOA called an emergency meeting. I went expecting another ambush, but instead they voted her out. The treasurer, Allen, came to my door afterward, shoulders slumped. "We're rescinding all your violations," he said, "and we're sorry." I told him cowardice isn't the same as innocence. He nodded. "Maybe not, but maybe it's not too late to fix it." I wish that was the end of it. But then came the letter from some law firm claiming I'd caused her emotional distress and defamed her character. I brought it straight to my lawyer, Dana, who read it once and said she's bluffing. We filed a counterclaim for harassment, defamation, and malicious use of HOA authority. Attached over 100 pages of evidence. Within a week, her lawyers dropped her. Word spread that she left town. Her house sat there, empty roof, still scarred porch, wrapped in yellow tape, a monument to her own arrogance. But you know what surprised me most? The neighborhood changed. People started talking again. Maya from across the street brought over cookies. Mr. Jacobs offered to repaint my mailbox, post the same one Karen. Sorry, Margaret had ordered him to sand 3 times in 1 month. For the first time, this place felt like a community. I even joined the HOA board, not to hold power, but to make sure no one ever abused it again. Months passed. Winter came. The barn stood strong, a little scar on one side where the heat had curled the paint, but still proud. Then one morning I got a letter handwritten. "Luke, I was wrong. About the fire, about you. I lost everything trying to control what I didn't understand. I won't return. Margaret." I read it twice, folded it, and put it in the same file with all the rest. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was closure. Either way, it was over. Now every evening when the wind picks up, I walk out to that barn. The paint's chipped, the hinges grown, but it smells of life, sawdust, oil, memory. I painted one word inside the door. Resilient. Because that's what it took. She burned the leaves beside my barn, but in the end, it was her own fire that consumed everything she built. Funny thing is, when the smoke cleared the place she tried to control finally started to breathe again. Kids play in yards, people wave, and nobody's scared of letters taped to mailboxes anymore. The wind still blows, the leaves still fall, but now the only fires here are the kind we gather around together, contained warm and welcome. So, yeah, I guess peace isn't something you find. It's something you defend. Tell me what you think. Was I right to fight back the way I did? Or should I have just walked away? Drop a comment, share your story, and let's talk about what real justice looks like when the match is in someone else's hand.